We're back. Hello, friends. Today on Tuesday, the 16th of December. The other day, I made a post on my YouTube page on the post section, and I said, why are anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish attacks occurring in the West, across the civilized, democratic countries? What is this phenomenon that has spread like wildfire? The truth of the matter is because the true colors of Islam, and I said the people of the beast, is spreading in those countries. Quite simply. Although many other people in Bible prophecy land are minimizing the threat of Islam, or let's say not minimizing it, but disregarding that this is a potential candidate for the final days beast, the Antichrist. You and I are quite aware, we're watching it, we're seeing it, the evidence is everywhere, that this entity of the last days that the prophets of old spoke about, the fourth beast, and in the book of Revelation, this beast that rears its ugly head, together with the man of sin, the Antichrist, and the false prophet, is coming out from this region, the Islamic world. There's a post here I want to share with you quickly by Sana Ibrahimi. She's a former Muslim. She's passionate about politics and she makes some really interesting observations. She posted, as someone who used to be Muslim, I'm honestly shocked by what I see every single time. After countless terrorist attacks targeting non-Muslims, carried out by people shouting Allahu Akbar, right? And waving ISIS or Hamas flags with the Shahada on them. The Shahada is the Islamic creed. It's actually the religious text, the primary text, where people confess this Arabic confession of faith. They actually have this on their banners, on their flags. You would think that the priority would be confronting the ideology and networks behind the violence. This is why I said in my previous video, what makes this entity, like Daniel said, that was different to the others? Do you remember that? Were you in that last stream that I did on Friday? Goodness gracious, that was just Friday. A lot has happened, isn't it? Just over the weekend, friends. What makes this entity different? The fourth beast in the book of Daniel chapter 2, and it's also mentioned in Daniel chapter 7, the fourth entity. Why is it so different to the others? I pray that you would check my last stream because I talked about that. Islam as a political religious ideology is indeed entirely different than the Babylonians, the Medo-Persians, and the Greek empires and the Roman empires. Completely different. You would think the priority would be confronting the ideology networks behind the violence, and it's not Islamophobia to say that, because even many Muslim majority countries treat these groups as existential threat, like the United Arab Emirates. Places like the UAE have aggressively moved to ban extremist organizations and crack down on anyone affiliated with them. And you know, there are so many videos now coming out with Muslims who don't adhere to Muslim Brotherhood style version or brand of Islam, which is actually a new version that is gaining momentum in the West to hook, line, and sinker the useful idiots amongst us. Countries like Egypt and Jordan keep tight restrictions on Hamas-linked actors and have often taken hardline positions on refugees from wars. And Saudi authorities are notoriously uncompromising about internal security when it comes to militant groups, but not so much in the West, right? Would you say? Not so much for the European Union, not so much for the United Kingdom. And can we even include the USA in this mix as well? It seems like we are pushing back against illegal immigration, but it's not enough is being done. Not enough is happening in our country, the USA, to tackle this head on. Let's continue with what she wrote. Anyone with a sane mind should ask, why don't these kinds of attacks routinely happen there? And what exactly are they doing differently? One obvious difference is that they don't let Islamist propaganda redefine basic counterterrorism as Islamophobia. They don't indulge the kind of political spin certain activists or politicians like Zohran Mamdani pushed day after day. Instead, non-Muslims and plenty of ex-Muslims like me are pressured into silence by part of the Muslim community or their families and a chorus of useful idiots, all under the label of Islamophobia. Being afraid of something that is literally killing innocent people, including Muslims, is an irrational phobia. It is a rational fear response. And when people refuse to acknowledge that, it usually comes down to one of three things. They sympathize with Islamism. What was I saying not so long ago? Even certain Christians or Christian versions are now promoting the agenda of the Islamic takeover of our world today, promoting it, supporting it, becoming allies with them because they hate Israel so much, because they really think they are true Israel, or they've superseded or replaced Israel, the church replacing Israel. They simply sympathize with their cause. Two, or they're more worried about bad PR than real victims, or they've swallowed propaganda so completely they've lost the ability to think clearly about what's right in front of them. And this is the malignant narcissism of Islam. It completely disorientates people. Their rational ability to scrutinize, to use critical thinking, they're completely unguarded when it comes to this. They don't know how to deal with it. Why is that? Because it's different, isn't it? This is a different system that we're talking about. And there's political leaders like this guy here, for example, very slick, very Muslim Brotherhood minded, who are actually helping to promote this new version of Islam, because he, remember, wants to reclaim former Ottoman territories. So we are seeing a rise of the Islamic Antichrist. We're watching the followers or the people of the beast in our own countries. Some of them are born here, so we can't say ship them back or send them back from where they came from. How are you going to do that with British Muslims, British people who are now saying that they're Muslims, they were born here? What are you going to do about American Muslims? Where are you going to send them? This is what's happening. There's a literal takeover happening, and of course it's going to happen. It's going to happen because the Bible told us it was going to happen. And only a handful of us are sharing these studies with you to show you from the scriptures what it's going to look like. Erdogan will continue, he says, his efforts for peace and justice. There you go. I've been talking about that word justice. You got to rethink how these people from this world, their mind view about how they perceive justice. This is Sharia. This is Islam. This is bringing back the Khilafah, so true justice can prevail amongst the peoples. Erdogan said at a press conference held in Ankara following a cabinet meeting, Turkey will continue its efforts to promote peace and justice across the region because it wants to take over the region and revive Caliphate dreams. Conflicts in Syria, Gaza, and other areas have violated the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. What a hypocrite. Particularly the right to life. The former Syrian regime committed systematic human rights violations for more than 13 years, including chemical attacks and torture. International institutions have failed to prevent these violations, often remaining passive instead of addressing them. Turkey seeks unity. It's basically the same jargon that was being promoted at the Doha Forum in Qatar just a few days ago. It's the same mindset. They want action. These people, Qatar, Turkey, they want people in the West not to just pay lip service to promoting peace and justice in the region. They want action, and they want you, the Western audience, politicians, policymakers, influencers, to do something about it. Let's change the narrative, you guys. Turkey seeks peace, security, prosperity for the Syrian people while condemning continued violations of the Gaza ceasefire. Is the Antichrist coming out from the region of Turkey? We don't know specifically. We know it's going to be a conglomerate of nations, including 10 particular leaders that are going to unify. And their main goal, believe it or not, is to liberate al-Quds, in more modern language, is to invade the land. Now, since my last stream on Friday, so many things have happened. This catastrophic event that took place in Australia. Again, we're going back to, if it's Islamic, sadly, we're going to be expecting to see more of this happen. Lone attacks, apparently. Father and son initiated this jihadist attack. This is jihad. This isn't just a fringe element, you guys. When people say it's probably not even 2% of the Muslim community around the world, the population, well, that's a lot of people. We're talking about millions of them who are willing to do what it takes. They tell us they want to do it. Do they not? So horrific, very grievous to see this. Even in California, there's some town in California, a family coming back from celebrating the Hanukkah, the first lighting of the candles, come home, and some anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish person, might have been a few of them, in a car drive by shooting at their house, their residence. Thankfully, there was no damage physically done to them, but it's spreading everywhere. Why is that? Why do these people in the West feel so emboldened to do it? You know why? Because our governments are gaslighting us. Our governments are giving them the permission to do so. Our governments have allowed weekend in, weekend out, these protesters who are really celebrating what happened on October the 7th, celebrating the resistant fighters, the liberators of al-Quds. Our governments have allowed them to continue because it's free speech, it's freedom of expression. Everybody has a right to protest peacefully, apparently. All these governments in the West are guilty. Their hands are full of blood, you guys. All complicit, weaklings without a spine, and can't call a spade for what it is. Islamic jihad. This is jihad. Across Europe, this stuff is happening. We would expect it, right? We would expect to see such things take place, would we not? Or is it Italians doing it? Come on, let's be honest. If it's the revived Roman Empire, are we seeing Italians, extremists, and atrocities? It's just ridiculous to even talk like that. Who's doing it? Who's actually doing all these catastrophic, horrendous, disgusting, wicked, evil atrocities? Who's doing it? And they're telling us why they're doing it. They're actually telling us everything we need to know. But somehow we got to build bridges with those who have actually announced that they come to take over, to annihilate, to subjugate, to dominate. How are you going to make peace with that mindset? It's because it's of the devil. It's from Satan. Marina has very good posts as well. I'm just going through my X page, to be honest. I want to get to the scriptures, but I need to vent as well. She posted recently 4 unarmed heroes tried stopping the Bondi Beach terrorists. Boris and Sophia, ages 69 and 61, wrestled with one of them to the ground. Reuven Morrison, 65, hurled objects at the terrorist, even a brick. Ahmed, aged 43, temporarily disarmed the younger terrorist by sneaking up on him from behind. Everyone lost their lives trying to stop them. Who survived? I believe, is it true that the Ahmed who survived out of the 4 of them was wounded, but I don't know what his current situation is at the minute. But there were those who were willing, and you guys, it's going to come to this, isn't it? In our own communities, when what happened here starts happening across the West, amongst us, gatherings, special occasions, religious venues, government buildings, we're going to start to see stuff like this happen. And it's going to be terrifying. There are going to be people who are going to be brave enough to tackle or try to attempt to disarm the jihadists. At what point is enough, friends? But we know it's going to happen. That's the unfortunate thing. When I do these videos, I give you updates. I'm talking about what happened recently, and then we conclude it's going to happen anyway. It's sad. It's sad to come to that conclusion, but we do have hope. The scriptures have told us, the Lord promised there's going to be time of great tribulation, and after that time, the Lord is going to return. Jew hunting season is officially open in Islamized New York City. Amy Meck, I really encourage you to follow her on X for her recent research work. Please follow her work. She's tackling the Islamic takeover in the USA head on. Literally, she's doing it single-handedly. Credit to her. During Hanukkah, visibly Jewish New Yorkers returning from celebrations were brutally assaulted on the subway, shoved, threatened with death, targeted simply for being Jewish. So we've got to this point where the people who are doing these acts of violence feel comfortable doing it. And number two, they feel obligated in doing it because, again, to them, this is their moment. Strike the iron while it's hot. To them, they're winning. They're winning the narrative, you guys. We know this is the beast. With their useful idiots, this Marxist Islamist alliance will have their day of reckoning eventually. This is not random, she says. This is the new normal in a city spiraling into chaos under radical leftist influences. With Zohran Mamdani, the globalized Intifada, they told us, right? They didn't feel afraid. They didn't think twice. Maybe we shouldn't really, because the connotations are, you know, about the actual Intifadas that took place in Israel. Bloody, horrific massacres that took place against Jews, the uprisings. They didn't think twice about putting it on their banners in the West when they were out in the streets celebrating glory to the martyrs. We've put up with it for too long, and we can't turn the tide now, you guys. It's going to take a handful of few brave people, just a handful, because everyone's counting the cost, right? Sticking their necks on the line, to expose this threat and to help people just wake up, snap them out of this cognitive dissonance. New York is barreling toward becoming the next France, a no-go zone for Jews where open hatred reigns. And believe it or not, there are still liberal Jews who are still considered allies to the people who walk around with this on their banners, globalizing the Intifada. Synagogues are being attacked. They need armed guards. Families hide their Star of Davids in fear. But, you know, apparently, this is all a psyop, a psychological operation. Did you know that? Have you heard about it? Have you heard about it? Have you heard? So annoying, infuriating to me. The projection, unbelievable. All these attacks that are happening, like the Bondi beach attack, literally out there in the open, the two guys, the father and son, staunch anti-Zionist, anti-Jews, Muslim, Pakistani, telling us what they believe, telling us what they want to do. But no, this is all a psyop. The Mossad are behind it. Yeah, do you know what? It's a psyop, because you know what's going to come out of this psychological operation? You know what's going to come out of it, right? Our governments, who should be cracking down on the perpetrators, are going to now start enforcing laws to, guess what? Protect them. Because we don't want Islamophobia to get out of control. And this is exactly what happened post 9/11. Islamophobia was the thing. We could, we've got to make sure Islamophobic or backlash attacks don't happen to the Muslim community. Instead of protecting those who are the most vulnerable, who have a target on their back, because they're telling us who they're targeting, instead of protecting them, we're going to now protect the perpetrators. So, yeah, it's the psyop. It's the psyop. It's an Islamic psyop. How about that? Every single time stuff like this happens, we want to be careful of Islamophobia. Isn't that what Kamala Harris was saying after October the 7th, when these protests were just taking over towns and cities across the country? We want to be careful. We just don't want to we want to make sure Islamophobia incidents are, not tolerated. Because Islam is a religion of peace. All that language, jargon, nonsense was being promoted post 9/11. So the perpetrators can continue, because the nominal Muslims will come out and say, not in my name. No, because we're peaceful, we're moderate. So what happens? They get given office. They get given space. They get given platforms. They get given attention to continue to promote the new version of Islam in the West, while the violent jihadis continue blowing stuff up, destroying lives, tearing people asunder. Do not wait for the pogroms to escalate. Pack up, head to safer shores. America's greatest city is falling to the same forces that destroyed Jewish life in Europe. Wake up before it's too late. This was on the subway. Literally, two guys, several Jewish guys were together and a mob just surrounded them. Yes, becoming commonplace. But don't worry, it's not going to be just the Jews. Oh no, they're coming after Christians too. The Zionist ones, of course. Not all Christians, because there are Christians who are allies with these people. Meanwhile, our government, our current administration, like I said, who are actually controlling Netanyahu and what Israel does, like it's always been that way, restraining Israel. Apparently, the White House was rebuking Netanyahu over the Gaza airstrike killing Hamas commander, because we're working with these people. We've got a peace deal on the table. Come on, we're in the middle of something good here, Bibi. Why are you messing around? Why are you ruining it for everybody? The airstrike on Saturday killed Raid Saad, deputy commander of Hamas military wing and planner of the attacks that claimed over 1,200 lives in Israel, along with 3 others. Imagine, you get rid of him and you're being told, naughty, naughty, why are you doing this? We're trying to forge a peace deal here. Israel defended the action. Oh yeah, the great divide is coming, you guys. The great divorce is coming. Israel defended the action as a response to Hamas violations, like an explosive device that wounded soldiers and weapons efforts, stating it weakens Hamas rebuilding. U.S. officials privately. It weakens Hamas's rebuilding. U.S. officials privately warned Netanyahu against undermining Trump's October brokered truce. Why? Because he's got Turkey, he's got Qatar, he's working with Syria, he's working with those nations that are actually against the Jewish state. So our government, our current administration, is scolding the Israeli leadership right now in favor of these others. And like we've talked about it in previous videos, which started with hostage releases and aid, but stores on deeper steps. Trump said on Monday his team is reviewing it amid ongoing good ties. Tensions highlight the agreement's fragility as phase 2 talks lag. There's that between a rock and a hard place situation now. It's just going to get really, really uncomfortable for the leadership in Israel. White House issues warning to Israel for violating ceasefire in Gaza. If you want to ruin your reputation and show that you don't abide by agreements, be our guest, but we won't allow you to ruin President Trump's reputation after he brokered the deal in Gaza. So I want us to consider this as a fine line. A fine line is being drawn here. And I'm sure he's aware of it. People are choosing their sides. Even our government leadership are choosing their sides. You see the power of the Arab lobby, the Islamic, filthy rich Arab lobby. Do you see the power of persuasion it holds over our Western leaders? Do you see it? There's no such thing as a powerful Jewish Zionist lobby. It's a pathetic influence in comparison to the Arab Islamic lobby. The US, this happened just recently, excluding Turkey from this Gaza summit that's coming about in Doha again. Why is that? Because Netanyahu said before he's got concerns about Turkey. Good, founded, reasonable, justified concerns about Turkey. Not only Turkey, but Syria also. The US Central Command conference on Tuesday draws over 45 nations, mostly Arab and Muslim. That would be today, wouldn't it? To discuss an international stabilization force. I just spoke about that in my last stream. For securing Gaza. Officials cite Israel's concerns over Turkey's ties to Hamas and Erdogan's support for Palestinians, including his idea of sending Turkish troops. Qatar and some Muslim nations like Indonesia pushed for Turkey's inclusion to boost legitimacy, but no invitation came. Why is that? It's a NATO ally. Top NATO ally, that is Turkey. Italy pledged troops with the US, plans under President Trump, targeting early next year deployment to enforce the truce and rebuild without Hamas control. So, yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Looks like there's going to be more turbulence on the horizon. If you're new to my channel, let me know in the comments section. What have you learned so far about the Antichrist, the system, the beast? I'm interested to know because I've recently had a load of new subscribers and I'm wondering what you all think about this. Oh, Lord, help. What do you prefer, friends? You want me ranting, raving, or crying? I'd rather not cry on the mic. I've been doing that past few days. Trump is an antichrist. I'm reading the chat. He's working to help restore the Caliphate. Unknowingly, unwittingly. But I say that and I'm like, I don't know now anymore. Our leaders, especially our current president, you'd think is really smart, very much. But even this Syria situation, with the murder of 2 US military personnel, saying that the Syrian government have got nothing to do with it, this is ISIS. And what did I say? I shared with you posts that Sarah Adams was also saying they're going to have certain atrocities like this happen and they're going to blame ISIS, not Al-Qaeda. So I don't know anymore, friends. This is where I'm at, I'll be honest with you. This is why I say we cannot trust any leader. Go figure. Hayes White says, ironic. Very Christmassy in New York City this year. Christmas markets, decorations, lulling us into false sense of safety. Turn against the Jews. Right. Bait and switch? What is this, a joke? Let's pretend that anti-Semitism is not really flourishing in certain Muslim-dominated regions. Let's just pretend it's not really happening. And all peoples of all religions deserve to live freely. All that jargon, all the platitudes, enough. It's specifically targeting Jews. Let's not put all people under this umbrella, shall we? And it's one particular religious ideology that is doing the targeting and has also persuaded these left-leaning, woke liberal retards to join them as allies, useful idiots. This is why people call them useful idiots. They're useful, very dangerous idiots. Dan Burwami should know. He comes from that world. He comes from that background. He comes from an Islamic, I believe, Lebanese background. He should know. But people who come from that world, come from that mindset, we're being told we're Islamophobic. Excuse me. There's nobody more educated, more familiar than people who come from that stock, myself included. But you're not paying attention? Why is that? Why does it disturb you so much that people who are former Muslims are familiar with the system of Islam, speak openly and unafraid about speaking the truth? What's the problem with it? Risking our own lives, putting our necks on the lines to warn you about the facts. He wrote, Islamism is what Islam looks like without a caliphate. Islam lost its caliphate in 1924 for the first time ever. We could say this was a head wound. In the book of Revelation, the beast receives a head wound, but it gets revived. And 4 years later, think about this. Think about it was just 4 years later the Muslim Brotherhood was founded to restore the caliphate. Its very goal, its very inception of the Muslim Brotherhood was restoration of the Khilafah. And so we've been seeing that for the last 100 years. Since 1924, we are now in the year 2025. So they're very close, aren't they? They had 100 years. This was their benchmark. This was the goal. And the Jews who were living in peace as second-class citizens, oh, sure, they were living in peace at a price, at a cost of dhimmitude. But this is what they want for the West. Liberals, democratic Looney Tunes. Why don't you just become second-class citizens? Why don't we just do it? Let's bow down to our Islamic overlords. Heck, they're filthy rich. Under the Islamic Caliphate. This is how Jews lived under the Islamic Caliphate. And those Jews suddenly became colonizers because they asked for sovereignty. 1948. Some people want you to think that Islam was peaceful, but then Islamism, which is according to them a political ideology, that has nothing to do with Islam, hijacked Islam and made it violent. How convenient. Don't believe them, he says. Watch this video to understand what the hell happened and read my book. Follow him. So when we see all this, it starts to make sense, right? People wonder, next September, is it going to be the rapture? Because it didn't happen again, did it, this year, September? But 2026 is going to be a very crucial year. Before the end of this year, I'll do a prophecy update for the year 2025. In closing, considering what's happened over the past several months, 12 months. Do you remember these Australian medical folks? Nurse and doctor, Australian. So Australia have let this poison, this cancer continue to grow and spread. Remember the video of a nurse who appeared in a February footage alongside a colleague openly saying they would refuse to treat Israelis and boasting about they have already killed Israelis? Australian. I won't play the clip. You remember that? Medical professionals. So when we talk about infiltration, this is what we're talking about. In every sphere of life, at every level, there's infiltration. But they want us to believe, these people, right? These Islamists want us to believe it's the Jews doing it. The Jews are infiltrating, taking over, controlling, pulling the strings of our leadership. No, it's them. Yeah, it's them. They are the ones doing it. Narcissistic psychopaths. Muslims worldwide are uniting to condemn anti-Jewish attacks in Australia. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And you know what kind of Muslims these are that are coming out speaking against jihad? Are those who are living amongst liberal Arab countries like Bahrain, United Arab Emirates. Kudos. This guy, fantastic. Brilliant. You know how much bravery it cost for these guys to come out? You can tell, look at them. They're religious Muslims. To come out and condemn this Islamist jihadist attacks that are taking place, specifically targeting Jews. Because they've seen it, they've been there, they've witnessed it, and their governments don't put up with it. Erdogan again. He says, as the only NATO ally that fought ISIS, and what have I shared with you in previous videos? Oh my goodness. Oh, just like this stuff enough to drive anyone bonkers. What a blinking hypocrite. Hello, Erdogan. You funded ISIS. You provided logistical support, resources, and even accommodated travel to and back again for ISIS. They're your henchmen, aren't they? They're your mercenaries, aren't they, Erdogan? Come on. Evidence is out, but idiots out there, gullible, are going to think he's the guy trying to save the day. As the only NATO ally that fought ISIS face to face, we are providing all kinds of support to the Syrian government. And the reason why he supported ISIS, so he could glory in moments like this right here. We did all this work. Yeah. Very smart. Playing a very clever game of chess here. I shared this already. Brown University mass shooter. I mean, it's endless. Like, everybody who is making posts talking about it are being told they're making a mountain out of a molehill. You're spreading Islamophobia because we're trying to build bridges, and the Muslims in my neighborhood and in my community are not represented by these few radicals that are out there. As they continue blowing people up. Laura Loomer posted, Brown University mass shooter yelled Allahu Akbar before opening fire on campus, according to sources, because they're doing it to appease their God. This is why I'm going to have to redo my video about Babylon the Great and her relationship with the Antichrist. This is Baal worship. Ancient Baal worship in modern day. How come the media is suppressing eyewitness testimony about how the shooter at Brown University allegedly shouted Allahu Akbar before he opened fire on campus the night before the first night of Hanukkah? The media is only saying he shouted something before he opened fire. Sources tells me he yelled Allahu Akbar. I mean, the man shouted something. What is he most likely to shout? What do they usually do? What's the pattern? What's the norm? So until our governments at the head, at the very top, do something. Even in California, Jewish home, look at this, decorated for Hanukkah, looking like Christmas. You see that drive-by? Syria. So far, the Islamic beast hasn't even formed with the 10 horns, the 10 leaders, not here yet. But the system is in place, ready to welcome the Antichrist. We hear all this talk about all the Jews are going to receive the Antichrist, who they think is going to be the Messiah, rebuilding the third temple. No. It's the Islamic world who are going to receive the Messiah, who they call the Mahdi. The Islamic world are going to receive the Antichrist, who they think is going to be their man of the moment, followed by the Islamic perverted version of Jesus, the false prophet. It's about time more people in prophecy land talk about this as a thing, as a real thing. Iowa National Guard sergeants killed in Syria. ISIS. So that is what they're going to put forward. It's all ISIS, you guys. Turkey's trying to fight ISIS. Syria's government is fighting ISIS when they're all one and the same thing. The two sergeants died in an ambush by a lone ISIS gunman. And there's also evidence coming out that that lone gunman was actually within the Syrian current government's leadership, within his government, within his administration, that Giuliani, while supporting Operation Inherent Resolve. Alongside a US civilian interpreter, 3 other guardsmen were wounded. President Trump called them great patriots and vowed retaliation, while Secretary Hegseth promised an overwhelming response. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds ordered flags at half-staff. Local police chief shared his grief. So many lives. American soldiers are dying, and we're being told it's not the Syrian government. Of course they're going to say that to save face. This is what you get. This is your reward for supporting jihad. You don't know who to call. You don't know who to accuse. You're stuck. The 2 National Guard members were killed in the ISIS attack in Syria have been identified. Please pray for their loved ones. Rest in peace. Thank you for your service. Trump says he's going to attack ISIS after ISIS flags are found in the Bondi Beach attackers' cars. But ISIS is headquarters in Tel Aviv. Oh, you see that? You see how they're scapegoating Israel? What a joke. It's Al-Qaeda. They're the same nonsense, different pile. How many more lives need to be lost? Tom Barak, special envoy to Syria, ambassador to Turkey, US ambassador. Trump's Syria envoy Barak tests Israel's patience as Netanyahu pushes back. The struggle between the Israeli prime minister and the envoy is an acknowledgement by Israeli leaders that what will happen is what Trump wants to happen. Sad. But, it just looks like, doesn't it? Everyone is supporting the rise of the Caliphate. It looks like our Western governments, Europe, the UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, the USA, it just seems to look like we're not doing anything about it, really. And we're just working with them. So what do you call it? What's the better way to word it? If not supporting the rise of the Islamic Antichrist. This happened. Bellevue police officer lured by false 999 call and then ambushed, stabbed by Muslim man. There's no mugshot because WA state protects the identities of their criminals and illegal aliens. This should be nationwide news. Hassan Abdul Hussein, research fellow, actually writes extensively on the Syrian issue. In Syria, no one is noticing the irony. The US military has spent the last decade working jointly with Kurdish armed groups, the SDF, the Syrian Defense Forces, remember them? Not a single American was slapped on the face. US military has spent the last month working jointly with Jalani's Syrian army. 2 Americans were shot. Syria says up to 5,000 of its security are ISIS. Number is more likely 90% of its security. And yet, US Ambassador to Turkey, Tom Barak, wants America to befriend Jalani and ditch the SDF, Syrian Defense Force leader. Yeah, this is what we're being told. This is ridiculous, friends. There's more to share before I get to the scriptures. I want us to get a full, panoramic view of what on earth is going on here. What happens when the president of Syria led the group that the killer of American soldiers belonged to? What happens? Nothing. They're going to tell us it's ISIS. And, we need to support Erdogan because he's fighting ISIS, you know? Sarah Adams reposted a post from Open Source Intelligence page. A reporter asked President Trump, do you still have confidence in the Syrian president? President Trump said, yes, this had nothing to do with him. He's a strong man. The attack had nothing to do with the Syrian government. Why is our president still lying? This is a disgrace. This is a disgrace to our fallen. How many more have to die to protect the fiction that the terrorists running Syria will be in peace? He won't. Trump says the attack on Americans in Syria had nothing to do with the government. It had to do with ISIS. Who's going to tell him? Who's going to tell him? You think he's got the right people surrounding him to tell him, but he's got his own mind. Oh. Kash Patel, sellout, another sellout. Sorry, you guys. What is this? 19th. And the timing could not be more suspect given. New cause for Patel's resignation after another public failing. The due date of the release of the Epstein files this week. Who are they protecting, you guys? Who is being protected? We're going to find out, aren't we? Everything always comes out. Doesn't the truth always have a way of coming out in the end? But the word of God told us about this fourth beast, just in case we forget. Prophet Daniel saw this, and it's regional. The entity that's going to lead the region is regional. Nebuchadnezzar was given the vision in Babylon. He was given the vision, and this entity is relative to that location. We've gone through these scriptures many times. This entity made of gold, iron, silver, bronze, and the final toe is made of a mixture of iron and clay, are going to be destroyed when the great stone that strikes this image, meaning when the image is standing proudful, boastful on its feet, in the days of these kings, the Lord is going to return and set up his glorious mountain, his glorious rule on the earth. But after you shall rise another kingdom inferior to yours, then another, a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. Again, the language is all the earth. We know these kingdoms didn't rule all the earth, but to them, that was the modern world in their time. That was the world to them. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, inasmuch as iron breaks in pieces and shatters everything, and like iron that crushes, that kingdom will break in pieces and crush all the others. This is your Islamic kingdom, your Islamic empire, and the various caliphates. Whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay, partly of iron, this is still very much, to a degree, a mystery to us, is how is it going to look when they get together, the final 10, the feet and the toes? The kingdom shall be divided. You see, this divided kingdom language is very descriptive of the Islamic Caliphate again. They were always divided from the get-go. Yet the strength of the iron shall be in it. Just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay, and as the toes of the feet were partly of iron, partly of clay, so the kingdom, this is the interpretation. It's not a hybrid entity. The interpretation is provided for us so we don't have to get confused. Let us repeat verse 42. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, and this means, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile, not partly human and partly alien. I know there are people who believe in this theory. That's not the interpretation. It's a divided kingdom, just like you have organizations today. You have a coalition of group nations grouped up. Some of them are very strong leaderships and some of them are not. Some of them need some support. As you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. The strong and the fragile are going to work together, but they just don't mix. They don't adhere. They don't get along. But they will form. And in the days of these kings, now, let's just pause here. I just had a thought. Let me elaborate on this a bit more. Now, the word clay is very similar to the word Arab, Arabized peoples. Could it be the stronger jihadist element of Islam, the Islamic world? I'm just putting this thought out there while I have it. Will they seek to work with the Arabs in the south? Partly strong, partly fragile. There's clay. Just wanted to mention it. Is it the Sunni Shiite divide? Partly strong, partly fragile. Could the fragile element be the Shiite axis, which currently has been given a setback because this Sunni axis or this Sunni crescent is beginning to form and grow? But they need Persia because Persia is the main entity in the Gog alliance. It's a mixed multitude, friends. It's a mixed people groups. And in the days of these kings, thank God for that. Oh, thank God. You see, when this entity gets together with the 10 toes, it's going to be a short-lived season. It's going to be 3.5 years. In those days, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. The kingdom of Christ is coming to break in pieces the Islamic empire. In other words, If this final empire is Islamic and the kingdom that God brings from heaven, and that kingdom breaks in pieces, he's coming to destroy the Islamic world, the Islamic Antichrist. That's what's going to happen. Let's go to Daniel 7, because a narrative about the 4 beasts is mentioned here. Daniel himself sees a vision. The 4th beast, the dreadful, terrible, exceedingly strong, having huge iron teeth, was devouring, breaking in pieces, trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it. It has 10 horns. This little horn comes up from among the 10. There was another horn. So we've got very exciting times ahead of us. But in the meanwhile, it's going to be ugly. It's only going to be good when the king returns. When the king returns. Till thrones were put in place and the Ancient of Days was seated. This is coming in the future. It's the 4th beast, you guys. All these nations, Islamic nations, they all struggle what to do with Jerusalem because they know, even the Arabs who want to work with Israel, the Abraham Accord nations, even they know every Islamic empire, every Arab, Persian, Islamic, because they're a mixed multitude. The Islamic world is not an ethnicity. It's not an ethnic group. The Islamic world is multi-ethnic. It's a mixture of a multitude of peoples that adhere to Islamic teachings. Muhammad, Allah, the caliphs, they believe in the end times. They've got this whole system, which I believe Satan will use as the last days vehicle to bring about his 3.5 years of wrath. The tribulation is Satan's wrath on the earth. I've got videos on it. Please check my playlist section. What are they going to do about Jerusalem? What does Islam teach? What do those who believe in the Islamic text believe? It's a conundrum for them because according to their own sources, Israel belongs to the children of Israel. But the Islamic Caliphate came and took over the land. And to them, it still belongs to Islam. They didn't hand over any inch of that territory to the Jews. But the Jews came in nevertheless, because in Ezekiel chapter 37, God promised he was going to raise up the dry, dead bones of Ezekiel, of Israel. And he was going to make it happen. Behold, the day of the Lord is coming. You see, this end time beast is directly opposed and is going to challenge the return of the Lord. So we're seeing an entity in our countries right now who hate Jesus. They hate God. This is why their allies are the people who hate God. The woke leftist, Marxist, socialists, they love Islam because they hate God. The Lord is going to retrieve all the spoil that they tried to squander. I will gather all the nations to battle against Jerusalem. And I suppose at this point, thank God for the scriptures. Thank God for the word of God. Our only hope. Our only hope. It's all right. It's okay, everyone. God is in control. I tell myself this, by the way. It's all right, Sonia. Calm down. Relax. Where's your faith? Get grounded. Back in the word. The scriptures you read day in, day out. Remember them? But it's very human to be angry against injustice. It's very human, and I would say very righteous to have that kind of indignation. I appreciate your validation, everyone. Thank you. I will gather all the nations to battle against Jerusalem. What? No way. The very city that these folks want to take over for themselves. So you're telling me that this is a war of biblical proportions that's coming against Israel? Yeah, I am. Amir Safati should know better. I think he does. But I think some of these people, they're just not willing to call it out for what it is. Their city will be taken. So think of October the 7th. Who are the people who committed October the 7th? Who are they? Hello? Who are the people who did it? Who are the people who supported them doing it? Who are the people promoting them doing it? And who are the people asking for it to be done again and again and again when they say globalize the Intifada? Who are they? Then the Lord will go forth and fight against those nations. See, we gotta just say it as it is. The Lord is returning to fight the Islamic world. Are you Muslim listening to my videos? Do you understand the gravity of what I'm saying? All the nations that war against his people and his land are going to be on the receiving end of the judgment of Jesus. The Lord is coming back to fight the Islamic world. Repent. This is like your red flag warning. Sonia, you can't say that. In that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives will split in two. Such will be the presence of the Lord Jesus. He's coming with his angels. But they know this. Think about this scenario in a prophetic sense. Let's come out of this worldly realm for a minute. Think about this. So, the Islamic world have end-time eschatology, and they believe Mahdi, Isa are coming to fight Dajjal. They're building an army. They're building a military force. They've got plans about taking over Jerusalem and making it the capital city for their future Khilafah. They're going to get rid of the jizya taxation system, which is enforced upon the people of the book. They're going to do away with that in the end times. And apparently none of this has got anything to do with the Antichrist. Bible prophecy land. Snap out of it, please, my brothers and sisters. And this Jewish king is going to rule over the whole earth. Over the earth. That means the millennium reign is going to be on the earth. The Islamic Empire defeated the Roman Empire. Just for those who still won't let go of the revived Roman Empire, who are just holding on to it because I don't know what they get from it. They just get something from it. I don't know. It ticks all the boxes for them. I don't know what it is. Listen to me, my precious friends. The Roman Empire, yeah, it was ferocious. It was huge. It was, it was crazy. It was an empire to be reckoned with. But it was crushed miserably by the Islamic empires. Yes, Islamic empires, the Rashidun, the Umayyad, the Abbasid, significantly defeated Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire in the 7th century. conquering its wealthiest provinces like Syria, Egypt, North Africa, that the Byzantines survived, and later, later the Ottoman Islamic Empire delivered the final blow by conquering Constantinople in 1453, ending the Roman legacy, ended, and it's not reviving again, ever. If you compare modern day Europe today, what have we got? Anything that resembles the Roman Empire reviving? You got the Vatican City, separate to Italy, but you got Vatican City and you've got the EU, the European Union. If you combine them, it still doesn't look like a revival of the Roman Empire. So what is this entity that we've been told is going to be the final days beast? What does it even look like? Europe is so weak, far, far more weaker than the Roman Empire ever was. And the Roman Empire was a strong empire. The culture, the Greco-Roman culture, is still around today across the West. Our government systems, our laws, our institutions very much have been gleaned from the Roman Greco times, but with Judeo-Christian values. Early conquests weakened Byzantines. The Eastern Roman Empire was exhausted from wars with Persia, making them vulnerable when unified Arab Muslim armies emerge. And this is what they're trying to do again. Unifying. They want to unify. And who's in the way of the Islamic world unifying today? Who's in the way? Who's preventing the unification? Because listen, the Muslim world, they talk about this all the time. I grew up with this mindset. My own dad used to talk about, the Muslim world, what we need leadership. We need one man to unite them all. Yeah, I know it sounds like the Lord of the Rings, the ring of power, but that's literally what they're seeking. They're seeking for a man to unite them all, to bind them, so they have a unity. This is their cry for centuries, right? Oh, he's coming. Oh, yeah. He's going to be thrown out. Michael, the angel, is going to throw the dragon, the entity, the fallen angel, the beast, the entity, and he's going to inhabit a man. And that you're going to have your guy. But he's also going to have another puppet, which is a false prophet. But they know this. Islamic world preparing for two people, friends. What's the final stage of the Islamic Empire? What's the head wound, if we can put it that way? The final blow to the Islamic Empire. Ottoman expansion. Centuries later, Ottoman Turks steadily chipped away at the shrinking Byzantine Empire and the fall of Constantinople. Sultan Mehmed II conquered Constantinople, the Byzantine capital, making the definitive end of the Roman Empire and establishing the Ottomans as its successors. In essence, the Islamic forces first crippled Eastern Roman Empire, and later the Ottoman Empire delivered the final decisive blow, fulfilling a long-held Islamic ambition to take the ancient imperial capital. And your Erdogan today, I don't know, he's got these funny ideas, you guys. He has these funny ideas. Can we take him seriously? I don't know. Should we? Erdogan, yeah, I'm following the president of Turkey on my X. In 2025, he says, we undertook 24 overseas trips. We hosted 91 leaders at the state and government head level in our country. Look, even those of Amir Safati, Behold Israel crowd, even they acknowledge the majority of the Gog Magog alliance is Islamic. Turkish. They're just missing a few elements. Well, quite a few big elements. But you're almost there. We conducted 270 engagements. Again, we had 126 phone conversations with state and government heads. In other words, with the motto, one who runs with love does not tire. Oh, look at that. Charming. We were engaged in very intensive work to fulfill our duty to our nation. As long as the Lord grants us life and health, we will never slow down our pace. Without falling into pessimism, without tiring, without faltering, without hesitation, God willing, we will advance at a running pace toward our goal of the century of Turkey. Oh, he's just talking, just nonsense. He's appealing to his voting base. He's never going to do anything. The century of Turkey, you guys, is now. 100 years Muslim Brotherhood was formed just 4 years after the fall of the Ottomans. It's been 100 years. The goal of the century of Turkey is to revive it. That's what is going on. So, Qatari money is helping it. Qatari lobbying, buying influence is helping this. As the only NATO ally, says Erdogan, as the only NATO ally, again, right, he said it earlier, to have confronted the scourge of Daesh, the ones he was supporting, head on, we are providing the Syrian government with all necessary support. They need Syria. Turkey, Iraq, Syria, like I say, is going to be at the heart of this beast. And he says, I always say, we have been here for 1,000 years. He's talking about Turkish Ottoman Empire. Together as neighbors, God willing, we will be here until the day of judgment. Oh, yes, you are. You're going to be here until kingdom come, Erdogan. And you're going to face the wrath of the Lamb. You're going to face the wrath of the Lamb. You're going to be here till Judgment Day. Meanwhile, did you know? Of course, you probably know. You've heard about it. Christmas, again, another year. Why Christmas? What's Christmas ever done to anyone? What harm has Christmas caused to anybody? But Christmas, again, is under attack. Oh. They're coming out more openly about what they really think about interfaith relations. These Muslims living amongst us. Islamic scholars advise against joining non-Muslim religious celebrations to avoid imitating forbidden practices like wishing Merry Christmas or seeking holiday food, which some see as endorsing different beliefs about Jesus. Oh, here we go. So you've already got your Islamic version of Jesus being promoted. Are you talking to your children about it? Your children who are in their teens, are you talking to them about it? Beware of this version, this brand of Islam, this brand of Jesus. Can you imagine when the false prophet actually shows up and the man of sin? The Islamic leader, and you got your fake Jesus. How many people are going to be so deceived and say, oh, wow, I was so wrong about Jesus dying on the cross. I was so wrong. Oh. His name is actually Isa. He was actually Muslim. Nigerian academic Idris A. Oni shared he'd skip greetings but offered food gratefully, respecting reciprocity. I hate that word. Without pushing Eid wishes. Voices ranged from praise for clarity and calls for mutual respect to criticism, labeling it extreme, with many noting this familiar exchange highlights tensions and kindness in diverse communities like Nigeria each December. Oh, where they're committing a genocide against Christians. Here you go. Promoting Islam. This is all dawah. Dawah. This is jihad. This is sophistry. Wisen up, you guys. This cool ustad talks about, I'm a Muslim. I don't celebrate Christmas. From a distance, you'd think he's a Muslim wishing Christians Merry Christmas. New tactics. Beware. There's that guy, Idris, who made that controversial post. What's it say? Controversial. He says, I will not ask for Christmas food and will not wish my Christian neighbor or friends Merry Christmas. But guess what? In the UK, in Europe, and across the West, our governments and our community leaders, our political representatives are telling us to open our arms and widely welcome diversity. Come on, how much lower can you bend until your back is broken? But not so much the same kind of response from the Islamic peoples. And I will not wish my Christian neighbor or friends Merry Christmas because it is against my faith. They will understand and respect that. But you know, some Christians in churches, what they teach. This is what they teach, right? You should do outreach to your Muslim neighbor during their religious festivals, you know. Do outreach and kind of like, blend in, talk about your faith, but blend it, do it very lovingly. But these people just tell you point blank, it's against my faith. They will understand and respect that. However, if my Christian neighbor, excuse me, or friend is kind enough to offer me food willingly any day of the year, including food made on Christmas Day, I will gratefully and graciously accept it, thank them and eat it. I will pray that Allah be kind to them as they are kind to me. Christmas is under attack. You got to see all the news latest, how the Christmas is being attacked everywhere, friends. This is their next level jihad, next level dawah. They came here, they were protesting about pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas stuff, demonizing Israel, demonizing Zionism, and so forth, etc. While these terrorists, jihadists, are blowing people up and targeting Jews specifically, targeting American soldiers across the Middle East, even closer to home in our countries. And now they're saying, I'm a Muslim and I don't celebrate Christmas. Beware, because there are people, friends, who don't love the truth. And they are the ones who are going to be open to this deception that is coming. What is the deception? I hear you ask. It's the Islamic Antichrist. The deception is accept false Jesus, the Islamic version. Accept the Caliphate. Accept the mark of the beast. Declare the Islamic Shahada, the creed of faith. Declare it. Take over. Spread dawah wherever you are. I'll be back soon. More to share. Pray for Israel's leadership. Pray that everything will happen according to the Father's purpose. Honestly, our prayers can be summarized. Lord, your will be done. Literally, Lord, I want this to be done. I want certain people to be protected. Help them. Open the eyes of the blind. Help those who are suffering. The church globally is being persecuted. Being told not to evangelize in the Middle East. Being told to be very nice and loving, and diversity is our strength in the West. Minimizing the religious connection of Christmas, of Easter. Every year we've been told to blend in. We're a melting pot and we love it like this. Yeah. Until these folks come in and openly tell us what they really believe. They speak with conviction, and this is why they're getting converts. Even though there are many people leaving Islam, they're still getting converts from the West. Thank you for being here. I love you. Appreciate you. If you like me doing this, if you want me to continue, I need to see feedback to help me continue. It just encourages me. Yeah, they like it. All right, I'll put out more. The people are liking this. They're appreciating it. Sonia, put out more videos. I love you so much. I've got an update coming for Friday. There's so much I want to say. I'm going to see if I can organize my format a bit better, friends. Lots of love. Tell me what you think in the comment section. The Lord Jesus be with you.